we all been players. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, I went to Coach Rudy Tomjanovich and said, hey, man, I'm not a starter anymore. And it crushed me to admit that. I said, I think Kevin Willis should be starting. And all of us as players, there's a time where, and it's hard to admit, I'm pretty much done. And Andre Miller still can help, but these teams are obviously young and they want to play at a different style, and he's probably capable of playing it, to be honest, because he's more of a half-court player at this stage of his career. And I was more of a half-court player, but I went to Coach Tom Johnson and said, hey, man, do what's best for the team. I know my name is Charles Barkley, but I'm playing more like Charlie Barkley. And that's just the way it is in every player's career, and you have to check your ego at the door. And it's hard. It's not easy to do now. It's not easy to do.
You heard what Brian Shaw said, like, I'll coach anybody. And Craig said, you know, about possibly coming back when they reduce role. Has too much happened right now for Andre Miller to remain a Denver Nugget?
I don't think
would
too
you
much
see him saying, oh, yeah, look, I know I don't fit into your rotation here, but I'll sit on the bench for you?
I don't know if too much has happened for him to play on this team. I think too much has happened for him to come back and sit on this team. You know, I think that like this is inappropriate. You know, inappropriate behavior and uncharacteristic, like you said, of Andre Miller. But you know, when someone's pride is hurt for the first time in this type of situation, you know, guys act differently. And like I said, they act out of character. And the one thing I always learned is when you don't have something, you act out of character, or you're losing something. Sometimes people act out of character. And it's those who can remain the same in those two instances. That shows a lot of fortitude. He wasn't able to do that in that moment, but in the same way Brian said, if I really knew that, I would at least came to him and said this beforehand, if I knew that. And I really believe Brian as a player. Shaq's played with him. I played with Brian in college at World Games. I know him really well. I know he would have done that. And I know Andre Miller would say, if I had to do it again, I would have handled it differently.
You know, if I'm Andre Miller sitting right here, what are you telling me right now about my future in the NBA?
Well, first of all, like Kenny said, his pride was crushed. You know, Andre Miller was the type of player that he took pride of being healthy, coming to play every night. And, you know, for him to have that first DNP after the long streak probably crushed him. He handled it the wrong way. But Chuck makes a good point. You know, first of all, it's all about the team. So, you know, you have to be able to check your ego at the door and say, you know what, be sure you're right. I'm going to be here. I'm going to support the team. Because you never know. They may need him one day. But if your mind is not right when they need you, it won't happen.
So what would you say to Andre Miller right now?
He's 37. He's on his way out. Father Time has, you know, caught up with him. You know, the best of Andre Miller we've seen. You know, he can do things in spurts. But, you know, the team is playing well right now. You don't want to be a disruption to the team. You don't want to go out like that. So, yeah, you know, you don't want to go out like that. So he should just come back and, you know, apologize to the guys, continue to work hard every day, be the veteran leadership, because not a lot of teams have a 37-year-old leader in the room.
And the last thing, too, Shaq, the hardest thing, Ernie, is you've been doing it a certain way, and you know how to be a professional, and then some guys now are going to play over you who haven't put in any work. And you know that. And they might not put in the extra work, and then he just says, I got to go with the young guys. And he knows that this guy doesn't work as hard as I have. He doesn't work as hard as I did when I was his age. And that even is a more crushing blow when you watch that happen.